So, what are your first impressions of Wixoss?
Alright, so my first impressions were basically that this is just going to be some good school comedy stuff with card games. A show where you're just going to kind of have fun, but it's not going to really matter too much in the end because ultimately things will, go okay.
I had a impression that it would leave somewhat boring because of how it started out, but from later on when it started to get more into its characters, its development and its overall pacing, I really thought that the show had something in it. The characters, I liked them, but I couldn't really get into them at all. They were just there for convenience.
Basically, my first impressions were that this is the least rules-intensive game series I've ever seen.
It looked to be just a game show with surprisingly girls, but didn't look like much.
You would think that this is something more lighthearted or happy-go-lucky since it's still cute girls in a school setting and it's going to be happy and positive. But actually it's very timid. It's not just representative of Ruko's character as in a girl in a foreign setting who is just trying to fit in, but she is shy. From there it just develops into a very good atmosphere. The directing supports it. It really fits as a tragic moe show.
What do you think of Hitoe as a character?
I like how, the focus was on friendship, but it wasn't that Yu-Gi-Oh style of, friends are gonna solve everything style thing. No, it was more like not just be in it to have friends, but to care for them as well.
She's a believable character with a believable development. Through Nakama power, she battles awkwardness, social anxiety, introversion, and everything in order to become a better person overall, who is happy and content with her life.
She was presented as the girl who couldn't find any friends and suffered a lot through her past. The whole point of her arc was that even finding friends and then losing them, it could lead to a traumatic loss.
She has the smallest wish of just making friends and one that's most easily obtainable outside of a wish. And she also served as a good way to show what happens when a selector loses.
In the show, friendship is seen as something that is obtainable through a wish. If you think about it, this is really, really silly. You can't just say, I want friends. It doesn't work like that. You either make them and, have a relationship, or you don't. It's not something that you can wish for. You can wish for a car, you can wish for palpable. The show treats friends as if they are, some objects. Are you my friend? Yes, I am your friend. It doesn't work like that. Many people, they're friends, and they don't say, you're my friend. No, that's bullshit. They should have talked about friendship as in, a complex relationship, not, you're my friend, or I want friends.
But she did find friends without having to win in the game.
In her case, that is what happens, but you can't say the same thing about anybody else. In general, the idea of card games in anime is that, you make friends, you learn to deal with defeat, you learn to deal with adversity and stuff like that. From this perspective, it's pretty standard.
Okay, now moving to Yuzuki. What do you think of her?
Yuzuki's main purpose was sort of to bring the main character into the fold of the game.
Yuzuki takes the role of the elder sister as pushing not only her friends, but also everyone around her to fulfill their dreams.
She's another good character in my opinion. She does have goals, she does have motivation. She's the one who calls for action, headstrong and very determined. And later on she becomes straight up obsessive with her goal to achieve her wish through any means necessary. And she even does partially by herself. The whole drama around her is still very well done. She still upholds the friendship between her, Ruko and Hitoe. She stands up for them, someone to speak out between the more timid cast. And of course, the incestual relationship and her own struggle, in my opinion, is also well done, even if it's a bit of switch of gears, but the transition makes it extremely natural. And is also the one who actually wins the game and gets her wish, only to find out that there's an entire scheme as to what really happens when one gets their wish.
Her wish is more of a taboo, rather than something that's, any sort of impossible to obtain.
I loved how they treated the whole incest with respect. It was something serious, something that the people around them saw in a negative light. They didn't just have it in for fun service.
Afterwards, Yuzuki is just a card, and that's where her character ends.
And Yuzuki's body being used to, have an ancestral relationship That was fun. I like that they still showed it. It was like, oh, we're actually doing this for real.
Yep.
And many other characters you want to talk about?
Akira is the character who sort of lives and dies by the rule of cool in that she gets to basically peer into other people's minds and she gets to learn the wishes of a lot of other people. And I thought that was really cool that you kind of have this one wild card out there who kind of gets to know all of this inside stuff. Definitely made the show a much more interesting watch.
All nice and cuddly and warm outside, but with extremely malicious intents. Oh, just a mask for her envious nature and being a bitch who wants to ruin others' wives.
The gullible masochist villain who pretty much uses wordplay and tricks to lure you into her scheme, exposing you, and takes advantage of it.
Although she very quickly became overshadowed by Iona.
Everybody else makes sense. She's like comically evil for no reason. This one doesn't really make any sense.
The Elrics do present the opposites of the characters, as in Hitoi's Elric is headstrong and open, extroverted, outgoing, while Hanayo is more rational.
They're great for what they're to do, and that's to kind of be exposition dumps, and they're cute, so that's all I really have to say.
Our character without any actual motive. They just listen to their master's wishes and execute them.
What I like about them is that they are actual people. They're not just Pokemon or Digimon or some sort of monster. The reason they look so human and act so human is because they are people as well. This excuses why they have this human-like behavior, which is not so easily excused in other shows.
Ruko is basically the quintessential heroine character. You know, very nice, wants what's best for everyone. Typical main character for this type of show.
Shows very little care for what's going on throughout the first episodes. But later on, she starts getting her development drastically and starts to care for everyone. Even if those people are her enemy, she would still care for them.
Ruko is shown to become more obsessive with the game, as in she starts to really get that thrill of playing and wanting to win for the sake of it, for the pleasure and the thrill, rather than be it for the wish or just to make friends. She is active. She is an agent in the story instead of a passive observer. She has no wish to begin with, just like Madoka, only to use the system to woo-pro it. As in, fuck the system, screw it.
You can't give a wish to the main character because the main character is supposed to be like the viewer's eyes. If you give it a wish, then you make your viewer base like way more strict.
Basically, you must leave the main character blank in everything.
Vanilla, just vanilla, and
So anyone can identify.
make her react as good as possible and make her the normal standard person.
Notice the pacing. It is really, really slow. It's like a sitcom drama that takes its bloody time in order to focus on the characters.
That is good.
The only thing Madoka was doing just to progress with the plot was plot twist, plot twist, plot twist, plot twist. It was never
Yes.
offering any time to get to know the characters. The characters
Well,
were just plot devices, and then plot twist, plot twist, plot
The
twist.
thing is that you have plot twists. I mean, you're not expecting for a wish to become tainted, and you also don't expect the swap between the Selector and the Elric. So yeah, you have plot twists in this show as well, and they're like completely unforeshadowed. There's nothing that tells you.
They really...
They're not. I know the second one isn't foreshadowed at all.
Yes, that one isn't. But it was no shock factor.
It's done completely different than how it's done in Madoka.
Now, shall we cover Iona and the tournament at the same time?
That's kind of the point.
You felt like it had to happen because, you know, it's a show about card games. There has to be a tournament at some point.
The climax is going to be on the windy top for dramatic effects instead of a blimp. Okay,
Anybody
that
remember
works.
the Kaiba Corporation tower that was blown up after
Yeah.
the final battle?
This is where the show kind of falls apart for me, because Hitoe is back. She wants to battle Ruko because she wants to regain her memories and to recover and all that. It just becomes very convoluted. Now you have an entire omnipotent being who is in charge of managing all these Elrics in order to scheme out their living by going into other bodies, which is just screwed up, but it's only there to make the plot twist kind of work, but it just leaves it vague. Well, up to now, the supernatural element was like an overwhelming mystery, a Lovecraftian element, which you just have to deal with rather than be shown. Iona's personality is that she is also very timid and introverted, but her Elric is very flamboyant and bolstering and just insults everyone for what Iona honestly thinks of them. And while she has this imposing demeanor, you don't quite get that she's really malicious or conniving like Akira. She has her own goal, she just doesn't want to share it. And her own goal is to become an Elric to screw over the system, just like Ruko also wants to.
That's not correct. She wants to continue the system, not screw it over.
Not exactly either. She wants to find it out by becoming an Elric.
Iona is basically the plays to win character. She is just there to battle and have the system continue, which turns out to be the opposite of Ruko, who wants the whole system to end.
In a way, she's the perfect antagonist because she's the mirror of the main protagonist. However, the finale, the tournament, it was just brought out of nowhere. Here, let's fight in the tower. All for Hitoe to recover her memories, retconning the plot twist from the first arc through Nakama power. From here on, the show just goes down. It just stops being special, it stops being as atmospheric. Along with, hey, instead of having a logical end, as in just wishing away everything, time reset, as these stories go. No, let's have a cliffhanger. Let's have Iona get her wish anyway, just before Ruko becomes the Eternal Girl. And let's have only to have a second season. From here, it could have been just as easily Ruko's game and have a reset ending. And they had to omit it because of the second core. For some reason, they dragged in back Hitoe. Yeah, it just became a mess from here on out. And second season doesn't even bother in developing this or explaining it further.
For whichever reason that Tama decided not to grant Ruku's wish, so just there could be 12 more episodes, was beyond me. Why did the creators think it would have been fun to do that?
There's this very weird feeling, there's this very scary feeling, unease, there's unease in the show.
Lovecraftian atmosphere.
And that's because there's always this danger looming that you're not in control. You don't know if you win, you don't know if you lose, and if you lose it might be really bad, and if you win it's still bad and stuff like that. Very desperate situation. If its target audience is kids, then you'd better not have characters that stab people to death and stuff like that, or how Akira was complete nuts. Even older, there's still a problem because if you scare your viewers, they won't care that much about the game. It might be interesting to watch the show, but the game is not gonna sell. And actually, after the show was released, the game sold less. They were like, the game sold less. The show still sold pretty well. So they continued with the second season, not because they wanted to make it like a marketing campaign, but because it was kind of worth it to just get some more money from the anime, not necessarily from the game. And this, while it might be fitting for a more adult viewer, it's completely unfitting for a younger audience. So you're like not satisfying either of the target groups. This show isn't selling you a card game. In this context, the first season is a complete failure. It doesn't sell you the card game. It tries to revolutionize the card game anime type of show and trying to make it deeper and also keeping the young audience target in its mind. It's like, what the fuck is this mess? Why did you do this? So it's like, I would watch Yu-Gi-Oh! Any day over this because Yu-Gi-Oh! Has its standards and it's very well done in its own rules. It's like, you're doing it right, you know what you want, and I get what you send to me. But this is like, what the fuck?
So rather you're saying that Neon Genesis is a failure because it wasn't just mecha action.
That's a completely different thing.
No, it's the same thing.
From this perspective, it was a failure.
It's because you expected to see a card game when it's a card game deconstruction. Because it's about a card game, they never show the card game, they instead focus on the characters. Just like Neon Genesis wasn't about the mecha action, it was about the pilots and their psychosis or whatever.
No, it's not the same thing because Neon Genesis Evangelion is fully aware of its target audiences. But this one has you gotta understand that there are tropes that are age limited. Stuff like repeating your emotions and saying, oh, I feel this, oh, I feel this. Remember that friendship is important. Remember that you should not feel dreads or whatever. Stuff like that is only viable for really young audience and it keeps that. And the thing is that NG doesn't have tropes that limit the target audience. And this is why NG isn't a fail and this one is a fail.
So with the second season, I was very hopeful at the beginning and closed the whole thing out from its cliffhanger that the first one was kind of cursed with. The first 3 or 4 episodes of season 2 did that for me. I liked the reveal about Akira, and I also enjoyed seeing Ruko get some more development, also showing that Iona clearly left a big issue in Ruko's life.
These first few episodes are all about the girls sulking and sulking and sulking all over again. The Lovecraftian atmosphere from the last season is replaced with this. And this is crap. This is melodrama by little girls who are one note and they don't even bother to develop them or show them as more human characters. And it's just drama for the sake of it. Oh, look, they're cute. Oh, look, they're suffering. They care deeply about this. You should care deeply about this as well. Well, I don't, because you revealed the mystery and you're just showing that it's all a scheme of a sadistic villain. So that makes me lose even more respect or interest in it. And from the drop of the mysterious atmosphere, it just feels more soulless. Along with the more hammy villains now, Akira becoming a completely sadistic bitch as if she wasn't in the previous season. She had charm and connivingness, she had a mask. Here she's just, yes, she's more honest, but even more heavy-handed, and also shown as a Yuri slave to Ulith. Oh, and the token Wally. Oh, happy-go-lucky and squiggly as fuck. She actually gets screen time, and she tries to provide meta-commentary. Oh, I love cliches. Oh, shut up. Self-aware shit is still shit. And it doesn't contribute to the show acting like it's self-aware and smart. Not in the least. She's just annoying from top to bottom. Later she's shown to have some sentimentality attached to her, but only because she's the only character we have. Hitoi and Ruko are just puppets. Hitoi is just there to fill in the position while she does nothing. Ruko is also there to fill in the position while she does nothing until the end of the story. And Yona is just there to remind her, do something, do something. But my friends, I have to think about this. No, just do it. Stop overthinking this and just act. This is just a huge mess. It completely betrays what the first season established, and the characters becoming more and more hollow and the villains becoming just completely evil. There is nothing that could save the season from being a complete train wreck.
They overplay it, trying to be all just sad to a point where it feels like you're watching something depressing, more depressing than it should be. The characters, of course, themselves take a turn for the worst, especially speaking of Furuko's personality, who from a cheerful person started to become into a confused character who does not know whether or not she's satisfied with what she's doing or not. As a character that cares for everyone, this whole depression makes her even more worried about what it is. It never feel like they're having anything remotely fun about what they've been doing up to now. And then they just slap on the ending that could have been easily made if the show was like 14 episodes. It could have been easily slapped there. Yona is the only character that gets any kind of development in the second show. She's the only character that tries to push the characters forward, giving them a reason to do something. It's like the second season was just a troll of what it was trying to be, of what it was supposed to be, and it just felt like a complete failure.
The second season was just so much worse than the first. It felt like they really had no idea where to go or what to do with this or how to wrap it up in a way that makes sense. You know, people winning at battles and switching bodies, which just gets really, really confusing who's what by the end of the season. It just winds up not making any sense.
All I remember that it's really, really dumb, overblown Yuri stuff, and overall a mess. Just not worth it.
Hanayo is never shown, as in the one in Yuzuki's body. That is never shown until the last episodes. Hey guys, remember this? Yes, we do. We do remember, Wixoss. Just like you made us remember the entire first fucking season. Another thing is, what happened to the Ruko who played for sport? What, because Tama, that autistic Moab who just repeated the same 3 words again and again to the point of annoyance, where she bleeds your ears off, just because she's gone and she's replaced with someone rational, competent, and actually can speak in actual sentences, and that makes you sulk. Please! She even tells you multiple times, if you want her back, you have to battle with me. Again, what happened to the girl who played for sport and for fun? Because it can be still just as fun, even if it's against your former friend.
Everybody is sad because of some other person. There's a standoff like this where Ruko fights with Ulith in Yona's body, and Tama is fighting against Tama, which is now used by Ulith, is fighting against, what's her name? The ex-Yona, who is also something else. Oh my god, this is confusing. Everybody has their own reasons to not fight, or to feel drama, or to feel scared, or to look away, or to make somebody else not look away. And there's yelling everywhere, and it's so it's so stupid, you know.
Selector,
and how bad
spread
it is.
your shit everywhere, Wixoss. Fumio's arc.
Even after the wish is complete, we saw how the selector suffers, the actual girl, and from here we get an inverted perspective, where an Elrig is already in the body and is forced to complete and abide the wish. But she doesn't have the experience for what the original girl wanted to do, being a writer, and yet she still does it. But it's not a pleasant experience, and she's suffering. But you still have a body, right? But it's not my body. Okay, so just protest against the system while being compelled to do it. Again, it's just melodrama for the sake of it, another thing to pad out, but at least it's not just a moe blob or sadistic bitches for once, so that's always nice. I like the thought and the concept behind it, but even still the execution and the style, the atmosphere from the first season is gone, and therefore this feels just underwhelming and another filler arc. I can only praise the thought, not the execution.
Yeah, you know how many writers tend to, write their own personality in characters or write feelings of theirs in their characters, and Fumio is basically Okada. Wixoss is based on what she wrote, okay? And inside what she wrote, there's she writing Wixoss, having problems on what to write.
Meta commentary, ain't I smart?
So you're telling me that the writer in the show is the writer of the show, struggle with how to write the show. Just damn it.
And that's
This
Fumio.
is
Actually, that
Inception,
explains,
deconstruction bullshit going on here. What the hell?
that actually explains half of the show.
Actually, fun fact, Okada was so in trouble to think up of a story that she gave it to other writers. That's why it feels even more like a mess.
Oh, so maybe this was other writers making fun of her. This could have
That's
been
even
like-
more amusing thought.
Holy shit, just imagine you're a writer and there's this Okada girl who landed a great job but is completely incapable of doing it, and then you have to do it because, she gives you the test. Of course you're gonna make fun of her in her own work. Fuck yeah.
She should have gave it to Urobuchi. It would have made more sense. Because
And more cash. Then the whole cast will be dead by the end of the show.
Is there anything else we can say about it to further ruin this amazing show which I have in my top 16? You're wrong about it.
Oh,
You should
should've-
replace it with Technolize.
Yes!
Either
you.
replace it with Technolize or with a card game show that's actually good. Cough! Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds. Cough! I think that if it's going to stay in your top 60, you really need to say Season 1, because you should not be including this part. Mayu and her daughters are brought into the show, it feels like, to kind of give this show its last big shake-up before it ends.
There's a bit of Iona development in there, and a lot of name changes and the convoluted mess, because they have to break the rules to have the climax with all the key characters. So we meet the original Iona after Ulith wins for her final time kicking Akira's ass for failing her, because Yuri, stabbings, and campy melodrama with sadistic bitches, of course. So we get this convoluted mess and rewritten backstory. Season 1 Iona isn't Iona, here's the original Iona, and now here's Ulith in Mayu's realm, Tamas also in the Mayu realm. All of this just to have them there, and it just breaks the consistency of the system. Then we have Mayu herself, an obsessive hikikomori, who just wants to keep Tama because she is white, she must be good. And Kuro is supposed to be evil, the black and white morality. It's like a child came up with that. And guess what? That's the twist! A child came up with that because she could only see reality through a window and became envious of it. So she made her own. And that is how Wixoss is made, ladies and gentlemen, by a child. In a room that is locked there for who knows whatever reasons and wants to see suffering. Suffer for my amusement. It becomes even more convoluted when Kuro, the black girl, actually changes form, as we know as Iona, and then she's renamed to Yuki because we have the original Iona. The change in form was never explained because Ulith is the real black girl who is on Mayu's side, but I'm just throwing names for confusion because that's how convoluted this entire shit is. It tries to be kind of a mindfuck and fails in every possible respect. But let's just say that the ending is fun and friends win, as usual. And the sentimental ending, where just a monologue about the hardships and friends, is well earned, if not for the entire failure of the rest of the show.
the whole explanation that they gave out was just a convoluted mess that it could have been summed up in 5 lines. How everything happened and how and why did it happen was just very messed up in general. The last battle was a complete disappointment. Double coexisting personas cannot exist. How all of a sudden do they coexist when they were two? I don't understand. It just doesn't make any sense. And the ending was as satisfying as all hell. It was actually the only good part about the entire second half for me, because it just decided to play it outright how it should have been for a kid show, and I can say that I've enjoyed something out of the entire second season.
Alright, first of all, I am really glad the show actually had an ending instead of either a non-ending and or a possible season 3 or something.
As in, fuck you, read the white novel manga.
For what it was, this ending was alright, except that I really would have preferred that it end with an actual Wixoss game rather than the just, pick a card and if you get the color right, then you win thing that they actually did.
I rewatched like one episode like 2 times or 3 times because it was so messy. A is B, transformed in C, and XY person did something else, and it's all in one character's mind actually, and no, it's not. And no, there is a conclusion to the show's plot. Everybody is happy at the end, and it tries to explain everything that it set up and all the kind of stuff that I was saying, oh, this is a bad show because it keeps telling you that you're going to find out later, and it keeps building something that doesn't make any sense, and it keeps ass-pulling. And, this is when you have to pay the price. But it's still an ending, so I'll give it that. And the thing is that NG did the same thing with its supernatural, biblical theology elements that didn't make any real sense in the show, and it needed like 3 rebuilds to try and explain them, but they still don't explain them, and it all doesn't make any sense, and the plot is everywhere. That's what happens in NG as well. But the smart thing that NG did, it said, okay, fuck it, we can't solve this plot. Let's just give some character conclusions, where we close the characters, not necessarily the plot. We're just gonna say, oh, it's gonna be, the attitude of the person that solves it. They try to find the solution for the plot. They could have done something else. I don't know. NG makes the smart decision to not give a solution to the plot, but rather to the characters.